So today I have the pleasure of talking to James. James, please go ahead and introduce yourself and your company to the community.
Hi, so I'm James and I'm the owner of JCR Football Coaching. We're a company that work with young individuals across the area, focused on developing football ability through our one-to-one and private coaching sessions.
Fantastic. And how long have you been doing that for, James?
I began on November 2018, so about 4 years ago. Obviously, I had a year and a half of COVID, so it's sort of been going properly running maybe about 3 years. But November 2018 was the first ever one-to-one I did, and then obviously now here at this point.
Fantastic. So clearly outdoors, sporty. Tell me a little bit about what that looks like. Who's your best customer and how do you work with them?
So ours is a bit strange really because we have sort of two customers. We obviously have the players that are on the pitch and they're the ones we've got to sort of impress and we've got to enjoy it. But obviously they're not the ones that are going to bring us the revenue in and bring us the money in, so that's the parents. So really we sort of aim for parents that are wanting their kid to develop not just footballing, but over sort of as a person. So we sort of focus on marketing on not just being a football company, but looking at developing skills and using football as a tool to develop things like resilience, perseverance, determination, motivation. So really we get a lot of customers where their kid is struggling with confidence, usually within football, but then working with us after a few weeks, they're saying that they're buzzing, they're smiling and they're enjoying themselves again. So we'd probably go customers that want to improve their confidence really.
Fantastic. And what sort of age range do you cover?
So we cover all the way. So we go from the youngest I think we've had was 3, all the way up to professional athletes. So we cover a wide spectrum. Youngest, obviously, what you train is completely different, but it just means that we get a lot of variance in our day. The coaches are never really doing the same thing; they're always changing it up.
Fantastic. It sounds so interesting. And you did mention the C word, so I am going to go there to COVID. What sort of changes did you need to adapt or take on board during that time?
So COVID was obviously quite a big point for us because we'd sort of just been going. I decided to go full time with it, I think about 2 months before COVID hit. So a bit of a panic, but we basically just moved all online. So we adapted. I can remember, I think at the time I was working from my house in the conservatory office. I literally had a 5x5 space, some shoddy camera set up in the corner to capture it all, and just doing like online one-to-one. So just adapting what we did rather than doing a lot of passing stuff. It was more how you moved ball, how you learn new skills and things like that. Then that was the first time we went to a lot of one-to-ones, but that was a lot of my time taken up. So then the second time we moved to a bit more group sessions and sort of did like football fitness, football skills sessions. So obviously with Zoom, you've got the capability of adding multiple people in. So we were doing it that way. By that point, we'd managed to, one of my clients kindly offered us sort of a warehouse shell. So we had a bit more space to work with as well. And there was another guy on board at that point as well. So we could get a bit more done. But I think that was the main thing. We just moved it all online and just tried to do bits that we could, where we could.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It was a massive pivotal time for a lot of businesses to embrace digital. What would you say is one thing that perhaps you adopted during that time that you've carried on doing now where we're back in the wide open world again?
A big one I think was sort of payment systems. Sort of before, obviously, as everyone does at the start, I was collecting all the payments, creating that sort of manual invoices, waiting for them to bank transfer and things like that, rather than just having an automated system that gets it sent out and allows the growth. Because there's points where I just didn't have the time to fill out all the invoices and things like that. I think just sort of we adapted the way we coach from that as well. So we realize how much benefit can happen from players having lots of touches on the ball, learning new skills, and the confidence, because we had players coming out of COVID and they're going back to the teams, and the teams were shocked at how good they were, all because they've been doing ball work. So now on a pitch, a lot of our sessions for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it's all focused on ball work, how they move the ball, get into the right places. And I think that's a big thing we've sort of kept from, obviously, that time.
Fantastic. What would you say, being a business owner and leader over the past 4 years of experience, has been one of your biggest learnings?
I think recently it's sort of been the biggest one, because we've sort of experienced the biggest growth over the past 12 months, obviously post-COVID. And for me, that the biggest learning thing I've thought is about letting go a little bit. So when I started, obviously my initials are on the brand. So when I started, I was on everything, on top of everything. And now I come to it, you can to a certain extent, but when you try and be on top of too much and have your hands in sort of all sorts of places, your main focus gets lost. So for example, I was asking some of the coaches to do some of the work, and I just wasn't letting them get on with it. I was like sort of interfering. It's like, no, actually let them do it, let them learn. And just give them a bit of time, because I've only just recently sort of learned that everyone isn't me. They do things their way, and you've got to sort of work with that. And as I'm building a team, I've sort of realised, actually, I need to start putting people in the right seats on the bus, sort of thing, rather than trying to, like typical saying, fit a round peg in a square hole. Got to find what each of my team members are good at, and how I can focus them and get the most out of them that benefits, obviously, the sort of company.
Yeah, fantastic. That whole team and organizational develop is huge. And as you alluded there, putting the right people in the right place around you as well. What inspired you to start your business?
Obviously, I've always played football. I've played football since I was like 6, 7 years old, doing sort of local community stuff. My dad was always the coach. And then for about 12 years old, really, 12, 13, I've always had this idea that I want to have some sort of football academy. And I think I've still got it at home. When I was at uni, I think I've got a spider diagram of like a business plan, obviously first original business plan of this is what I want to do. Obviously, it goes in different directions. I think at the start, it was I enjoyed football. And I started doing some one-to-ones for like a local company, and obviously they went off. So I was like, oh, you know what? And at the time, I was just finished uni. It was a bit of extra pocket money on a Saturday. And I was like, okay, I'll just start. And then obviously, quite turns out I'm all right at my job. It picked up momentum. And then actually, what I realised now is every day I get the chance to sort of positively impact someone else's life. So, for example, a child can come to us of having a bad day at school, all miserable on the pitch. By the end of that session, they're smiling and they're loving life. And the amount of comments you get from parents saying, oh, the confidence is unreal, they're trying things that they never knew, like, we don't know where it's come from, we don't know what you've done to them. I think more now that's where my focus is, and my values are how can we promote others and give a positive impact to others. I think there's a notice board here, and it's always up there. I wrote it up there, it stayed up there. It currently says, how do we positively impact others? And that's sort of how we follow now. So that's sort of what inspires me to keep on going. And initially, it was sort of just a love of football.
Absolutely love it. If you could go back to the beginning, would there be one thing that you could change?
Yes, but no. So, yes, because obviously everyone would love to go back and have all the knowledge that I've got now and set it up how it is now for growth straight away. Obviously, then things might be a different place. It might be triple size, quadruple size with the systems and things in place. However, I say no because I'm a big believer in it's part of the journey. Each and every single bit of that has got me to where I am now. And now there's new things I've learned from what I've been doing in that journey that I can apply to others when starting new businesses, going off in other areas. So obviously everyone's going to say yes. They're like, yes, I'd love to have it set up how it is now at the start. but realistically, no, that doesn't happen. You've got to go through that phase to understand your business, I think, rather than it just being, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it. I think you've got to really understand what your business is and what you want to achieve from it.
Fantastic, thank you for that. What would you say has been one of your biggest successes?
I think obviously the growth of JCR. I think in the last 12 months, so this time last year, there's myself, another lad, and we just brought on one other coach. So there's 3 of us delivering sort of maybe 30 hours a week. Now there's a team of 7 of us, sort of delivering 80 to 90 hours of one-to-one coaching, plus more group stuff. But I think the biggest success for me has sort of been, there was a time just after COVID where I was trying to do a jack of all trade. And we were trying everything, nothing was working. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to take a risk, scale it back and just focus on our one-to-ones, grow our one-to-ones, because we get our regular customers coming in, we know where we're at there, and then obviously we can expand from there. So I think the biggest success for me is taking that risk of going, okay, this is what could happen, could go down the drain, but it's obviously gone the other way. So I'd probably go with that, as well as obviously the growth and sort of building a presence around the area that people know that if you want to go for top quality football coaching, sort of we're the ones you're coming to.
Fantastic, thank you very much for sharing that. There's a lot of knowledge and learning there, yeah, congratulations on that growth. Just one last question, if I may. If somebody came to you tomorrow and said, I'm looking to start my business, what would be perhaps one piece of advice that you would offer them?
Good question. One piece. I think for me now, the biggest one for me is don't chase the money, chase your values. So for a time, I know business is all about making money at the end of the day, and everyone can say they're in business because they love it, but at the end of the day, you start a business because you see a potential to earn money from it. So for me, I used to do that, and I was sort of having jobs. I was getting jobs because I was like, oh, that's an extra £20, that's an extra £30, so on. That meant I could take less out of the business, but actually it ended up being detrimental because I wasn't enjoying that. So then I wasn't enjoying that, which then affected the business. So now anything I do is value based. So does it fit with my values? Can we achieve it? If so, then we'll go for it. If it doesn't, then I'll just say no to it. So I think setting your values out early of what you want to achieve, why you're doing it, and then sticking to them no matter what. No matter if someone offers you big money, say no. Okay, this is my values. This is what I want to achieve. This is where I'm going.
And that's massive. Thank you so much, James. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you for joining us today. And here's to your future success. Good luck.
No worries. Thank you for your time, Claire.